It's September 12th, 2023. Welcome to the Path Podcast. My name is Tawny. I'm here with Ock, and we're super stoked to have Alan again, Mountain Bike Alan fame.
What's up?
Alan, it's good to have you.
Thanks for making the drive.
Good to be had.
Yeah. You're looking strong, man.
Oh, thanks.
Like,
doing push-ups and stuff, you know.
And stuff. I see your posts, a little bit of your workouts.
My little micro CrossFit
Yeah.
things, yeah.
Looking strong. A little bit of a man crush. I'll try not to stare at you too much, okay?
I'll try not to flex.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
This is good.
So life has been full for me recently.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Well, you know what? This is a work story, but truly I wanted to be here because this is where my heart is. You know, I really believe in what I do. I work for a water district, so I help provide, bring water to Southern California and here in the Orange County area, and this is what I've been doing for 30 years. So it's a great, the place I work is fantastic and what have you. Last night I got to stand in front of our board of directors and advocate for a $250 million job project.
Wow.
It's going to help future-proof our water supply here in the Orange County area, and there's quite a bit of controversy in it. So it really had to be on my A game. I've been working on it for about 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So
this is the culmination of
not
18
the culmination
years.
of 18 years. This is just another milestone amongst many that has been going on for 18 years.
Wow.
So but you know what? Truly, as I was going through that process and what have you, I really believe in what we're doing here, and it's great to be here tonight. And so almost more than standing in front of the board on that, I wanted to be here.
Almost.
Really. Actually, not almost, really.
How many people had to stand in front of the board?
It was primarily me.
Nice. You
So-
think it went well?
Yeah, it went well.
Nice. Good job.
Thank you very much. Anyways, it's great to be here. Listeners, everyone, I'm glad to be here. And when I heard Alan was going to be on the show, this is even more pleasurable.
I'm trying to figure out if I for sure can write out $250 million. I think I can. 250 with 6 zeros. Is that right?
I mean, it starts,
Yeah.
I mean,
250
it just
million,
starts
is that-
losing. It's like being in Vegas. You start losing concepts of quantities of what's going on. Right. And so it's like, okay, this is a lot of money and versus a lot of money versus a lot of money. So
It's all just zeros.
Yeah.
just
It's mostly
zeros.
nothing, right? It's all the zeros.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's exactly it. But truly, it is going to be a worthy endeavor for all of our customers. So yeah, I'm super.
That's cool,
I'm
man.
pretty stoked.
It's interesting because when the path went from, $90,000 of revenue the first year we were open to growing and growing, there was a mounting sense of responsibility and pressure, and I kept having to readjust. Like, it's just more zeros, but I don't know if I'm ready for that many to be responsible for that many zeros. It's a lot of zeros to be corralling.
Hope I didn't mix up the plus and negative signs, but kidding.
Nice,
Anyways,
sweet, thanks.
it's good to be here.
Yeah, I've just been working on mostly getting the shop moved, and also some big stuff with us and our partnerships with our brands. Been taking up a lot of good fun bandwidth, and the shop build out's coming along really well. I'm psyched. I think really, really soon. Even this so we're recording early, and we record every other week, and the podcast comes out a week after we record. But this podcast is going to come out in more like 15 days after we record.
Yeah, I think it's going to be towards the very end of September.
Yeah. So plausibly, in a best case scenario, we might have some like business going out of the new shop by then.
Ooh, sweet.
That's kind of a shoot the moon scenario, but maybe.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And even for those of you, like, check out the Path, Instagram and even Tawny Walling's Instagram. You might get periodic check-ins from the new shop.
We've been posting stories of pictures of things as they happen,
Yeah.
like new displays and stuff.
Those new counters are going to be,
I'm psyched.
I'm psyched on those too.
Yep.
Yeah, those are exciting.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll join us, and I suspect we'll be recording from the new location.
Yeah, eventually
in the
we
future,
will. We
eventually,
definitely
and,
will.
Can't wait to have you over there.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So the thing we're really jonesing to talk about is Alan's trip to Whistler. This is your first trip to Whistler?
It was my first trip to Whistler.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So you left on...
The 12th. Yeah, 12th of August.
Nice.
And stayed for a week.
You were there for a week, like 7 riding days?
No, I was 5 riding days.
Yep.
So 1 travel day, or 2 travel days, Saturday, and then rode Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Awesome.
And technically rode on Friday, but it was on a little cruiser bike with a little basket on the front to go jump in a lake. That was like cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So technically I rode every day except for the days that I traveled.
So take us back. You're thinking you want to travel somewhere. You're trying to decide where to go.
Yeah, it's funny you say it that way. I've just planned to go to Whistler from like the first year of mountain biking and just never could make it happen. And it got to the point where eventually I was just like, I just got to start. I got to purchase something. So I think the first thing I did was purchase a plane ticket.
Nice.
I was like, no, I'm going.
Yeah.
And then I just had to make it happen.
When was that?
When did I buy the plane ticket? I want to say like a month before, a few weeks before. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how buying the plane ticket is like cements it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think before that, though, I was like making a list. I started doing the research and I was like, okay, I'm going to get an Air Canada plane ticket. I'm going to stay at this hotel. I'm going to just kind of started putting that together.
Did you have to do anything with health insurance?
No, but I bought like extra insurance, like on everything. Anytime they were like extra insurance, $25, I was like, sure. But I think my insurance probably would have covered me. Probably.
I think so to a degree. I think
Yeah.
Canada and U.S. don't always. I don't know. When I went, I remember there was an option to buy some health insurance because there might, in case your insurance doesn't end up covering something.
I did that, I think, with the plane ticket, and I think also with the hotel reservation.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've got the plane ticket and preparation set in, basically. That's that's a scramble. 4 weeks to get ready for Whistler, kind of.
I guess. I mean, so I had like practice because I'd just done Bentonville,
That's right.
right?
Oh,
So
that's
like
right.
I kind of knew how to fly with the bike by then. Kind of had an idea of how much stuff to pack because Bentonville was like 4 days. So yeah, I bought a new piece of luggage
For the bike or for you?
for me,
Oh, okay.
like nice piece of carry-on, and then yeah, just started making lists.
As far as how to fly with the bike, what's the bumper sticker like? What's the basics?
Know what the weight limit is, because depending on the airline, that's going to be different. Like American is 50 pounds, Air Canada is 70 pounds. So that was nice.
And that's for the whole package
That's for the bike.
and the box and the package. What?
Yeah, the whole thing.
50 pounds would be really tough to make the bike and a package fit
Yeah.
under 50, right?
Yeah, especially with the Rain SX, which we just weighed, which was like 40 something.
Right.
You know, it was like just at 40 pounds. So yeah, it would have been tough. And it's good to weigh it. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to spend more money, because a lot of people just pack a bunch of stuff into their bike box and you end up spending more money. So kind of figure that out.
Right. Don't bust the weight limit.
Yeah, unless you're...
You don't mind paying extra money.
Unless it's cheaper than adding extra bags.
Yes, yeah. But pro tip, and this didn't come into play in Whistler, but it came into play, or I wasn't prepared for this in Bentonville. Take your carry-on, take your helmet with you, but have riding gear in your carry-on, because you at least will have something to ride in if your luggage goes missing.
Oh. Did you lose?
Whistler, I was fine, but when I went to Bentonville, my checked bag didn't show up. My bike showed up, but the checked bag didn't show up. Fortunately, I did have my helmet on me, so I just pretty much rode with what I had and a helmet. Yeah, that's
What shoes did you have again?
The Crank Brothers.
So you had decent shoes to ride into.
Yeah, they're the Fabio Widmer ones. So they're okay. More for street riding, but they handled a day in Bentonville.
So you have a bike bag, travel bag? Or
Yeah, the Evoc.
That thing's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Just the regular one, not the Pro one. And
What's the difference between the two?
the Pro one has like wheels on the front,
Oh,
and then I think it has a little bit more support inside of it.
structure, right.
Yeah,
I see.
I haven't really felt like I needed the wheels in front, But I mean, if you don't want to like hold the thing, But
I mean,
then when you
looking
do,
like you, maybe you don't need the wheels, but maybe
Yeah.
like me, I might need.
yeah, maybe. But you get to flex. You're walking
Right,
around, and your
exactly.
bicep is bulging, and you look
That's right.
super cool.
That's
so,
right.
yeah.
So does the helmet count as your carry-on item?
Usually you'll have a carry-on and then a personal item,
Mm-hmm.
which is like small, and so like, yeah. Fortunately, I had the 100% Aircraft 2, which comes with a nice bag,
Right.
nice little travel bag. So,
You're able to put stuff in that bag
Yeah.
along with your helmet.
and it's extra cool because everybody thinks there's a dog in there. So people will be like,
Your helmet got some treats?
Oh man, a little sound effect in there, like
yeah,
I can picture people wearing the helmet on the plane too.
yeah. I've seen people like with the half shell, just like wearing it before. Yeah, it's
not
funny.
having it count as a personal item, but just wearing it.
It's a hat.
And then you got your bag.
It's a hat.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't want to wear it the whole time though.
Oh man.
You rode a little bit extra to get ready?
Say again?
I think you did some extra Snow Summit days and stuff to get ready.
I wouldn't say they were
Not
extra
really.
because I ride up there so much, but I thought about Whistler a lot when I was up there. And fortunately, Snow Summit put in those new jumps this year on West Ridge, which were a little bigger, a little steeper, a little more technical. And then they had that big, like, tombstone. And so I was riding West Ridge a lot, thinking about A-Line.
Yeah.
I thought I was prepared. I was not prepared for A-Line. Yeah. But
What were some of the differences?
I want to say the jumps felt steeper, but I don't know if they were steeper or if the trail was just faster. So the rhythm, the lip rhythm, is that a thing?
Timing.
The timing, yeah, the timing was a little bit different. But I do think, obviously, like the Moon Booter is big. It's definitely bigger than the big, some people call it Large Marge or Big Bertha on Lower West Ridge. It's
right.
definitely bigger than that. Definitely more airtime. But yeah, and I think it's just fast.
There's something about it though where I almost feel like A-Line, and maybe it's because of being in Whistler, and maybe it's because they have such a great progression to get to A-Line.
Yeah.
But there's something a little bit more kind of natural and almost easy feeling about A-Line than like muscle, than some of the jumps at Summit for me.
Yeah, it has. I think it has better rhythm, or maybe it's just that there's more jumps closer together. I don't know lengthwise.
You know what I think it is too is on A-Line, if you ride them all at a kind of a consistent pace and treat them all kind of the same, kind of all of them will work out kind of the same.
Yeah,
Where I feel like Snow Summit, you've got to like scrub some and boost some and pedal it some and like almost brake check some.
yeah.
Like,
Well, what's interesting about West Ridge, for instance, is the way the jumps are kind of spaced out. You'll have like 2 jumps and then like a whole bunch of stuff, and then you'll have like a series of jumps. But more recently, like because they put in the new jumps lower on West Ridge, and that has a really good rhythm.
I haven't ridden those yet.
Yeah. So that's set up now where it's more like Whistler, where if you get the setup feature, like the rest of the speed is good. And then the new jumps that they put in are more like that. There were a couple of jumps on A-Line though that like you had to do something a little bit different on. And I thought it was just me, but I was riding with Nick Zielinski, a.k.a. Van Can, who's local and is just amazing rider. And he said, yeah, like the one jump that was like I was getting bucked on, he kind of confirmed that. But yeah, for the most part, it just flows.
It's very trustworthy.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny is I was most concerned about the rock drop. Just like which is kind of in the middle of A-line, towards the beginning of lower A-line.
Yeah, it's like about a 4 foot. It could turn into maybe 6 foot huck or so.
Yeah.
It's kind of jagged at like different places, a couple different takeoffs.
Yeah, and it's almost a blind entry, and then you see it right at the last second. Yeah. So I was kind of scared about that, but fortunately I had met somebody on the shuttle from Vancouver, and pretty solid rider, and was able to follow him in on that. And once that was done, I was like, all right, we're good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just learning to trust it. It's not really that big of a feature compared to other features that you've hit.
Yeah.
But it does have kind of an odd look, and like almost the multiple takeoffs make it kind of more like, is this the right one?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And I noticed like the way the first guy, Jonathan, the way where he was hitting it versus where Nick was hitting it. Nick was hitting it way far right and like landing into the berm, and he would just hit it with a lot more speed, but he was also hitting the bigger lip on the left. So yeah, that's for next time I go up. There's a bunch of stuff, like there was a couple of tombstones and bigger lips that I didn't hit. Yeah.
So
go ahead, Onk.
I've noticed you progressing your riding. How has that progression gone, and at what point have you been accelerating your progression into this?
I think with Whistler, it was really the jump lines that I needed to have like work on. I needed to work on jumping before I got there. But fortunately, like was it last year? I was riding with Anthony Napolitan, and he gave me this tip on how to not get bucked.
You posted a video on it. It was really good.
Yeah, thank you. And that was huge. And then
you want to just share the tip? Can you give us like the basics of it?
Pretty simply, like the way he stated it was, whatever position you're in when you're just riding, hold that position on the way up the lip. And that's just like the start. Obviously, you don't want to only ever do that. But if you're getting bucked, start there. But I had years of being a movement coach, and I always knew that if you want to coach somebody on something, you give them a body part and a position or distance. And so to me, what that said was keep your chest the same distance from the top tube on your way up the lip.
Yep.
And before I like put that video out, I sat and watched a ton of people hit jumps. And I watched anytime anybody got bucked, whether they realized it or not, they were going up the lip and doing the thing that you do when you're going over a roller. Like they were letting the bike come up towards their chest, and then they go off the lip. And so, yeah, just holding that position on your way up the lip, and then you're less likely to get bucked.
Do you know why?
I think it's because like as you're going up the lip, you're kind of, if you let your chest come forward, or rather if you let the bike come towards you, you're starting this forward rotation momentum. Yep. You're also unweighting the back of the bike a little bit.
I think the other thing is that you're robbing yourself of the front wheel pop. So you get rear wheel pop and no front wheel pop.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you watch people from the side, you can see exactly that happen over and over again.
I think at Whistler, the thing that stuck with me from Whistler is with those jumps, if you have kind of like just the standard speed for the trail, a lot of times if you just ride them, I was referring to it as squared up.
Yeah.
That's how I was thinking of it, but it's really just kind of what you described, which is kind of a neutral position, just straight, nothing weird.
Yeah.
And just literally ride off the jump and not put anything into it, then they would work. And then once I realized that, I was like, okay, then you can start putting something, then you can start adding some nuance from there.
Yeah. Yeah. The trick though, like, just speaking specifically about the technique, is most people don't realize that they're letting the bike come to them or they're letting their chest come forward until you give them a physical cue or film them or something. But yeah, exactly.
You almost have to take, that kind of neutral approach where you're not boosting or scrubbing. It's almost like you're just taking it.
Yeah.
Like and not letting it push you around.
Yeah. Yeah. Staying strong.
It's a little less fluid than you might be used to from like tech riding.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little more like we're resisting.
Yeah.
Right.
But there was that. The next step for preparation was getting the pop off the lip and being like holding strong, but then becoming active and learning how to like add a little bit, like push into the suspension and then come off the lip. And that started happening mostly this season.
Nice.
Especially with the new jumps.
And that's more in the beginning of the transition, I think, or no?
I would say in the last bike length or last 2 bike lengths. I mean, because obviously it depends. Like, for instance, if you're going off the first like new jump, or I don't want to talk about a specific jump, but like a medium-sized jump, that's kind of the whole lip. But when you have something like a big tombstone or like moon booter, right, it's just too long.
Right.
So you have to like wait until you get like that last 2 bike lengths and then load it up.
So it's when your front wheel is roughly 2 bike lengths from the lip?
You know what? I'd have to look at the video and figure it out.
That makes sense, though, because like on a smaller jump, that would be
The entire jump,
kind of like right. Well, on a more medium-sized jump, I guess that'd be right. I have often on a lot of jumps pictured it to be like if it was a growth curve, right where it starts to go vertical, like right where it starts to hook.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of the hard part of the transition.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So you say you weren't ready for A-line. I'm kind of curious what you mean by that.
Well, maybe another way to put it is like I wasn't as comfortable on it as I thought I was going to be.
Right. That's what I thought you might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like Party Wave Westridge, like I can just ride. But I also like know the trail really well. But I just, especially all the new jumps, I was feeling really good. I was like sending it off the tombstone. So I was like, I think I tried not to think too much about it, but I felt like I'd be pretty comfortable, but I wasn't.
So you were ready to ride the trail and everything. You just weren't ready to feel immediately like relaxed confidence.
Yeah. And that first day, end of the first day, I was a little bummed, if I'm quite honest.
Yeah.
Humbled is maybe a better word. But, over time, I started putting it together.
You got it. You ended up where you hoped you ended up feeling pretty good on A-line by the end.
Yeah.
What was the first trail you rode when you got there?
The old Crank It Up.
Right. That's a good starting point.
Yeah.
Did you do Beeline?
I never did Beeline.
It's interesting. The first time I went to Whistler, I went with a veteran rider who had been there a bunch of times, Kelly from Kona, and he was a little bit kind of dogmatic and kind of forceful about this idea that we were going to start on Crank It Up, start it on Slow and Easy, then Crank It Up, and then Beeline, and then something tech. Like he made sure we rode a bunch of different trails before we ever got to A-Line. And by the time we got to A-Line, we had kind of shaken off some of this like new dirt jitters, and we were like, we had ridden stuff that was easier than that and wanted more. I think that was really helpful. So,
it's funny you say that because I just put out the video, so it'll have been out a few weeks by the time this comes out, but the episode where I talk about getting comfortable with A-Line and then eventually getting somewhat comfortable with Dirt Merchant, the Pro line, I don't talk about this in that video, but one of the things that happened on the second day is we went up and we rode In Deep, which is a double black tech trail.
Right.
And I was scared of riding a double black Whistler tech trail. But once I rode that and rode everything, when I went back to A-Line, I just felt way better on the bike because I'd shaken some of that out. And I also was like, oh yeah, Alan, you know how to ride a bike.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
I do feel like and it works the other way too, when the tech starts to get kind of creepy and you start to lose the rhythm in the tech, you can go ride the jumps on the flow for a while and come back to the tech. And I feel like they do. for me anyway, I do feel like if one is starting to get in my head, I can go to the other one a little bit. But especially, like you said, the tech is more confidence boosting for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we just kind of brushed on this. You rode the Pro line on Dirt Merchant. I've seen it on video. I haven't even seen it in person. That's gnar. Like, what's up?
Yeah. Full disclosure, I never cleared the step up. I can make excuses, but I just wasn't coming off the drop fast enough.
Was it a hard case or
Yeah.
did it hurt?
It never hurt. One of them really scared me though, because it was the one where I like really went for it, and that's
commitment, and then
yeah. And then I was like, I got further, but it was a bad enough case that I like got that like back buck
Secondary bounce?
Yeah, the secondary bounce.
Gosh.
Yeah. So it was, and that was towards the end of the week. So I decided to shut down trying to do the step up. I think that's kind
Is there
of
a go around for the step up?
not technically. It shouldn't really do it. There's like a little, you can ride on the side of it, you know? Yeah. I think, it's funny I'm saying that right now, and what it's making me realize is probably the biggest thing that I did, or the biggest preparation for me going to Whistler was having a healthy mental attitude. I know that sounds so cheesy, but it's true. I was able to go and put aside my ego and be like, you don't need to clear the step up. You've done the huge drops. You've done everything else on Dirt Merchant. There's one jump you haven't cleared. It's okay if the first time you go to Whistler, you don't clear the entire pro line. I think that's okay.
Plus, if you do, then you have to go try crab apple hits.
Oh, dude. Those things
Point being, there's no end to that.
Yeah.
There's no bottom when it comes to some of that stuff.
Yeah. And that's just an attitude that I developed over the last couple of years, especially traveling, because it's easy to go somewhere and be like, I'm here. Like, I'm in Sedona. I have to ride Highline and do all the things. But it's like, you can come back and you can save some for later. And I was able to not even have to think about it, but I just had that as a natural attitude when I was there.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I think that kind of mental and also just that self-care preparation, for me, that's how I've messed up the most number of trips. Just kind of not taking good enough care of myself to really kill it on the trip.
Yeah.
Like working too much the week before, maybe drinking too much the week before. Like,
yeah.
And then, like, it's a phenomenal opportunity and a great trip, even if you don't do that one thing or you don't do those things, right?
You're in Whistler.
Right.
It's beautiful, and like the culture is cool. The village is amazing. That's one thing I wasn't expecting. That village is huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a town.
Yeah, it's a full town. Yeah. But I didn't want to say this, but somebody was like, you're going to be ruined. And I'm ruined.
You ruined. The local trails don't have the same mystique as they did.
They're still fun, but Dirt Merchant's a different level. I've said this a number of times to friends, I've never had that much consistent adrenaline in my system as Dirt Merchant, and now I'm just hungry for it. Yeah. It was just, I don't know, it's just a totally different type of trail. Everything's a little steeper, all the jumps have consequences. You start with a drop, like immediately a drop. It's a little bit bigger than the one, maybe it's about the same size as the one on A-Line. But it's just nonstop. It's pretty fast. And
can you still feed into it from freight train? Or did you, is that even still there?
Freight train's still there. The way it's set up, it's kind of a weird entry. What is the trail that kind of comes down to it? There's no way to like easily feed into it. You kind of have to like go around a thing, and then you like have this kind of big flat area you come to. Like if you come off the top of the gondola, actually I don't know where the Fitzsimmons lift goes to because it was shut down. But when you get to the first stop on the gondola, you kind of like come out and then you go like across, like almost like you're going to go to the Garbanzo lift, and then it's kind of to the right it's down there.
Did you do the thing? I think the classic thing when you get back to SoCal from Whistler is like first turn you low side. First flat, dusty turn, just low, wash out on low side.
It's Snow Summit?
No, anywhere in SoCal.
Oh,
Whistler.
No, I think just because I knew, like,
Yeah.
I just snow like SoCal terrain is just in my blood now.
Do you see lines in our local trails that you didn't see before Whistler?
Well, honestly, I've only ridden Summit since I've been back.
I started noticing lines just on regular, county park, state park, single track that I hadn't noticed before Whistler.
Yeah, I probably will now because that started happening to me in Whistler where I was on. Was it Duffman? I think it was Duffman, and I just spotted like a alt line, and actually just rode onto the alt line, and you start seeing those everywhere.
One of the things for me, I just feel like there's so many things that if it was in Whistler, it would be a step down over this whole little rock section or something. And like all you got to do is bunny hop and it's a step down over it all.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Right.
There's so many or hit a little lip or that's kind of barely there.
Yeah.
So
how has it impacted, in what ways has it impacted your riding at Summit? You said that's right there.
I definitely feel more confident on the jumps.
Bigger sends, a little more pop.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of coming into it with maybe the same amount of speed or more speed, but I'm just not like as like
just survive
tense,
this or just right,
like,
just make this or just clear this. You're
nonchalant.
Yeah, a lot more nonchalant about the trails, and I'm starting to work on tabletops.
Sweet,
nice, nice.
So the Nick was kind of teaching me how to do those. So trying to learn those.
And whipping, is that part of your game?
Yeah, so I've had like a little whip. Like sometimes I can really get it out there, but not consistently. But I'm finding that's another place where I feel different is I'm more aggressive on my whips on the big jumps.
Nice.
Like on a medium-sized jump, like on Blue Steel or whatever, that's usually kind of where I get my tail out the most. But anything big, like the Muscle Beach Tombstone or the new Tombstone or anything like that, I'd be reluctant. But just recently I started hitting like large Marge and like and the Tombstone, right, and like getting more aggressive with it. So that feels good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, what do people need to know? What should they do? What should they not do?
Don't do top of the world after 4 days of riding.
Yep.
I think here's what's cool, because they're open so late. Take it easy. Like go in the morning, get a few laps, take a break, have a slice of pizza and an orange crush, and take your time. And also, after 1 or 2, it starts to thin out. And because I think during certain parts of the season, they're open until 8. So you can chill and take your time and just ride all day. It's easy to just be like
amped up and like boom, 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 right?
Yeah.
How many laps were you getting in a?
I don't know. I just know I would ride the first couple of days. Like I just rode nonstop. Day 1, like I rode probably 7 hours.
Oh, wow.
Something like that.
Right.
And then like, the next few days I started being like, that's when I was like, okay, we don't need to just go nonstop.
No like blisters or soreness or hand pump or.
I started getting, my hands got a little beat up. I think one of the days we rode Unamas, which is like a blue flow trail. And that was like the hardest on my hands just because it was like a lot of brake bumps and just like flat. And so that kind of beat up my hands a bit. And I got a little like kind of blister on my thumb. But I think what I would say you need to know is you're going to get beat up. So have a routine to take care of yourself afterwards. Whatever that is, whatever you need to do.
What did yours look like?
I take cold showers.
Got it.
So that went a long way. And I don't know if it's just Canada compared to Southern California, but them some cold showers in there.
It's like ice treatment or whatever they
Yeah.
do, right?
Yeah, that always helped me eat well. It's really easy to I don't drink, but it's really easy to just booze it up and put a bunch of make your body have to work, and that's going to wear you down riding. So maybe if you're going to do that, do it later in the trip.
Right.
Also, not specific to the park, but more to the village. There's a grocery store there. It's a little bit more expensive, but the Whistler grocery store is great. I just bought like bubblies, some bubbly drink, and just had 2 cases of that in the fridge, and just would drink 2 or 3 of those in the evening.
Rehydrate.
Yeah, and I was drinking a bottle of water every lap, a full bottle of water.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Ride the tech. The tech is fun.
You had that great post, tech versus flow, or
Yeah.
what was it, tech versus jumps, or what? How'd you
Something like
frame
that.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you get a lot of answers?
I got a lot of the right answers, which was both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does tech there compare to tech here in Southern California?
I think from a skill level standpoint, if you ride our gnarly tech here, you'll be prepped for Whistler tech. It looks different though, because it's more, I don't want to say loamy, but it's not as dusty. But there's more roots. And then the only thing that's maybe a little bit different is the slabs. We have some of that here, but you got to know how to use your front brake on those slabs. Here we don't always have that much grip, so you set up and then you just whoosh down the slab
Right.
and then catch berm. Whereas there, a lot of those slabs, you can just front brake it and just go as slow as you want down them until there's
Right.
a let go spot. You know?
Right.
I definitely found the roots to be a little bit of an adaptation, but also a lot of the trails in the park at Whistler, there's little booters over all the roots. But definitely, if you get out of rhythm or if you're not confident, and you start riding the roots instead of jumping.
Yeah.
Over 'em.
Start seesawing them. Yeah.
It starts getting well, and there's a kind of your front or back wheel can tend to slide to a side. The roots tend to have a camber.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was one thing. Maybe that was something that I just knew to do, which was when there were roots, try not to touch my brakes. I mean, there were sections
Float over them.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, there were sections on in deep that were just chunky roots for a whole section. I don't know how you even ride that in the wet. People do it, but
There's very little better feeling than a trail like that where your body's your bike and body are kind of working faster than your brain, and you get through. You're I don't even really understand how that just happened, but your wheels hit all the right spots and made all the right noises, and you didn't get hung up on all the weird slippery roots.
yeah. The first time I rode that section, if you know in deep, it's kind of towards the second half of it, there's a part where you kind of come out onto the slope, and then you go back in, and it's after that. It's just this long section that's not too steep. It'd actually be easier if it were steeper.
Right.
So you're just trying to hold momentum going over roots. And the first time I rode it, I have no idea how I did it without dabbing. Although I wasn't able to make the turn. There's a turn next to a tree.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I was never able to make that. And I watched Nick's footage on it, and he was in the same spot that I was in. He just did it. So I was like, oh, that was
Maybe the
I should have just
full commitment.
Yeah, I should have just not stopped. That's how you do it there.
Right.
Yeah.
That place rewards commitment for the most part.
Yeah.
Until it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any crash stories?
I only had one crash. Did I have a minor one? I had a couple of get-offs,
Right.
right-hand technical switchbacks. They're really hard for me. And so there were a couple of times where I just like stepped off the bike. But the only crash was in the tech part of A-line. Because I thought there was a high line. I don't think there's a high line.
That is a fun little tech part towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no real injuries on the crash.
No, I just jammed my hand a little bit, but it was fine. Yeah.
Tell us about like wear on the bike. What brake pads? What?
Oh. Well, of course, the rear brake pads were just like dust.
Were
like
they
the whole
pretty
back.
new when you left?
Oh, they were brand new when
So you went through a whole set of
Yeah.
rear brake pads.
Yeah, the front was okay, but yeah, the rear brake pads were dust.
Definitely lots more chain slap marks on the chainstays.
Yes, I left a lot of. Yes, the chainstays, especially the right one, which is my back foot, like just took paint off.
I was going to ask you. So your left foot forward, left foot's your chocolate foot.
Yes, I'm
and
regular foot on the bike.
But you'd rather turn left than right.
Yes.
Interesting.
Oh.
I know it's weird.
I know, because I'm left foot forward, and I feel like I turn better to the right.
Yeah. Well, on switchbacks, berms, I'm pretty ambidextrous, but like on like a technical switchback, it's weird.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, like San Juan, every other turn.
Wow.
I'm like,
Strange.
and
You're
then,
goofy footed on a skateboard, but regular footed on a bike.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why I was never very good at skateboarding. I should have been regular foot. But, I think Steve Caballero was goofy foot. But what else? I definitely smashed my bash guard
Oh, interesting.
on the step up, on the Dirt Merchant step up, like bent it. Like that was pretty good.
Nar.
Wow.
I have the Z derailleur, and the exposed bit of cable was at one point just fully shredded. Shout out to Fanatic Bike, not Fanatic Bike Co. It's like Fanatic with a Y.
Yep. That's in the shop in the basically next to the park.
Yeah, yeah. I dropped my bike off there like towards the end of the day, and the guy was there, and he's like, he told me what he could do by the next morning, and it wasn't like a full cable, it wasn't like a full housing replace, it was just the cable, and he was like, but I'll get you back on the trail, and he had it done an hour early, and I was like,
Sweet.
stoked, got me back on the trail.
Did you peek back in their workshop?
Kind of.
That's a pretty cool shop, actually. Yeah. If you look at our handlebar display, I'll admit that I kind of copied their handlebar display.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they've got some cool stuff going on in their workshop that I was always kind of jealous of.
Yeah. There was like a bunch of people. So
I think we're talking about the same shop. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe. It's towards the bottom of the shop, kind of near the grocery store, actually. Not bottom of not the village, but like anyway, it's down there.
There's two shops that I've been to there. I might be confusing them, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, they were super cool to me there.
Nice.
That was great. And I have extra appreciation for when somebody's cool like that in a place like Whistler.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just, they're seeing all kinds of people all the time. And when I walked in, there was a line, of just everybody. And there was a grumpy guy who was like really grumpy, but they were being as kind to him as they could. And I was like, this is cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, because they don't, like, around here, it's like, well, we could build return customers, but in a place like that, it's pretty transient.
Yeah. Yeah. But if I go back to Whistler and I need something done on the bike, I'll probably go to them.
Right.
But it's a small world, and reputation is reputation, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about tires?
My
Tire
tires
selection? Tire selection and then tire wear.
Tire selection. So selection is a strong word. For the tires that I have on the bike. I have a DH casing Assegai on the front.
Okay.
But that was a result of having a slice in a sidewall slice up at Summit and going to chains required, and that's like the only tire that they had that I wanted.
Right.
What were you running before that?
Assegai Max Grip Double Down or EXO Plus.
Okay.
It's whatever was spec'd on the
A
bike.
little lighter than what you got.
Yeah. And on the back, I had an Assegai Double Down Max Grip. Is that what's on there? And then Cushcore in the tire in the rear, because for whatever reason I thought it would be a good idea to not put it in the front, because I don't know why.
That's very pro.
Yeah, I thought I was cool. But the tires actually weren't too beat up.
Were you able to lower the pressure when you went to the downhill casing?
I thought I was going to be able to, but
Not so much.
no. I also tend to smash the front wheel into stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah.
What pressures are you running?
At the park, it's like, well, in Whistler, it was like 27, 25. I was running like 26, 24 at first, but I'd ride dumb sometimes. And
the speeds are higher there, so you need a little more pressure.
yeah.
It's a real thing, I think. The faster you're going, the more tire pressure you need.
Yeah.
It's weird because the faster you're going, the lower you want your tire pressure.
Right. Can I just say, though, there's something about that sound of a fast jump line. And A-Line and Dirt Merchant sound different.
Like the sound of the tires loading up on the transition.
Yeah. Yeah. I obviously have a bunch of video, and there's times when I just watch and just like listen to that sound. Oh, it's so good.
Tire wind-up sounds are like my ultimate ASMR,
That's so good. I call it the zipper.
Yep.
Zzz.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah.
It's almost the same sound as when you corner so hard that you almost roll your tire over.
Yeah. 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 And I was really grateful for that bike, though, right? Because
Let's just double verify.
it's the Rain SX.
Yeah, sick
right.
bike.
So, yeah, perfect park bike. Everybody's heard me say that a million times. It's still true, because you have the pop on the jumps, you have the extra suspension for the chunk and for the hard hits on the jumps, or when you come up a little short on a 12-foot drop. It's kind of nice. But the way it held up, and the fact that like I was able to just ride through a lot of the braking bumps and a lot of the holes in the berms.
Right.
Like, obviously it's not eating it up as much as like a full 200, but the 190, 165 was like plenty for that.
So we were playing around with the new Glory yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Bike's pretty sweet. If you were to leave for Whistler tomorrow and you could take either one, the Rain SX or a Glory, say comparable, maybe they're both carbon, both specs similar.
I would probably take the Glory.
Yeah, I for sure would.
Yeah.
I having not ridden the Pro line on Dirt Merchant, I wonder if it would hold you back on the pop, like if it'd be even harder to make that step up.
Yeah.
But my suspicion is it would just make it
Give you more confidence.
To send it into the line.
Now I'm starting to rethink it, because this is going to sound
Were
really
people
dumb.
doing that on downhill bikes? I'm sure they were.
Yeah, but Nick was on a enduro bike,
Right.
and yeah, at a certain point he was on a hardtail.
That jump isn't the spot
he's
where the
crazy.
downhill bike's going to help you, probably. It might hurt you a little bit there.
Right.
Yeah, this is going to sound, maybe it sounds silly, maybe it's fine, but there's no water bottle cage on the Glory, and and I was just
And
saying,
you're drinking the whole water
Yeah.
bottle every.
and it's like, so at that point, like, how am I going to carry water? Am I going to have to stop and get water every time? Because I'm not wearing a fanny pack in Whistler.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So, and I had down tube storage. So, like, that was pretty nice too.
Multi-days in Whistler, though, a downhill bike really does protect you from just the constant abuse.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And, yeah.
Although I had 190 in the front,
Yeah.
What
were most people riding at the park?
I saw a decent range, not as much of a range as you'll see at Snow Summit, but at least enduro bikes and a fair number of DH bikes.
What would you say the ratio, like TH to enduro? Tough to say.
I can't really get, yeah. It was, yeah. I guess I wasn't paying attention. I'm weird like that. I don't really pay attention to people's bikes.
Did you notice if there was still a lot of 27.5-inch front wheels?
There wasn't. I did see the guy with the monster Marzocchi.
Monster T?
Yeah,
Oh,
he had a
wow.
monster. There was a guy. It wasn't Jordan Boostmaster, but there was a guy with a monster T, and it was 27.5, and that was cool.
Nice.
At least I assume it was. It sure
Right.
looked like a 27.5.
A lot, some 27.5 rear wheels.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But
Would you say? What would you say the percentage is on the on MX versus?
I have no
You
idea.
didn't bid.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't-
you didn't
You're like,
notice.
I just told you that. I don't.
I
pay
just rode.
attention.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic.
For me, 100%.
That's awesome. I'm
Yeah.
jealous. I will say some of the best times I've had are in BC and Whistler and stuff. It's so good.
Yeah.
I'd love to go.
You flew into Vancouver
Flew into Vancouver.
and you took the shuttle up through that highway that goes through Squamish and everything.
Yeah. that
so
was
scenic.
cool. It was gorgeous.
How long of a drive is it from Vancouver to?
It's like 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. It's 2 hours. It was funny, the whole shuttle ride up, like it was clear, like everybody but like one person was like a mountain biker.
Yeah.
Some of them really needed you to know that. But but it was like, it was pretty cool.
Lots of shred signaling.
Lots of, yeah,
Mhm.
lots of that.
Nice.
Regrets?
Regrets. I guess
Or do-overs.
not really.
Do-overs? Yeah.
The logistics worked out where I ended up doing top of the world like last riding day, because of like when Nick was available, because Nick rode with me those 3 days. But I think if taking that aside, I would have ridden top of the world earlier in the week.
Is top of the world a must do? I haven't done it.
Yeah.
It was always closed the 2 times I've been to Whistler. It was like weather prohibitive.
Yeah, that's one of my regrets. We just ripped down it. We stopped a couple of times. But I think the next time I do it, like I'll chill and just like stop and take pictures. I didn't stop and like there was one place where like I looked at a pond, but like there's just gorgeous views because you're on top of this gorgeous mountain. But we were
right.
the guy that I connected up with up there, just kind of met him at the top, bike park style, and he just like both of us were just like having fun on the trail because that's pretty fun. But that's what I would do differently, is just stop a little bit more on that trail.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you went by yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But I knew that I was meeting up with Nick.
Got it. That's right.
And I also am bike park fluent. So I know I probably was going to be able to connect up with somebody on day one.
Right.
It just worked out that I met a guy on the shuttle. Yeah.
And your mountain bike Alan. Did people know you? I mean, obviously it's not the same as here where people are recognizing you left and right, but I'm sure you had some fans up there.
Yeah. The story that I like to tell is I went to the top of Filthy Ape, which is the big 3-story tall rock formation.
Got it.
And I'm trying to get myself to do it. And I've never been more scared in my life to do something on a mountain bike. And I don't know what it's just visually. Have you done Filthy
Nope.
Ape?
I don't even think I've stood at the top of it.
Yeah. There's just a lot of factors for a first timer who's never done anything like that.
I related to what you said though about just how much open space there is in front of you.
Yeah. Just recently I was at work. I was standing on top of the 3rd floor of a stairwell.
Right.
And you could like see down, and I was like, oh yeah, this is what it felt like. So I was up there trying to get myself to do Filthy Ape. It's the first time my body has like physically resisted doing something. So I'm there, and then I hear down, like, you can see the people down there, and there's nothing between you and them. So if they say anything, you can hear them. And somebody goes, hey, isn't that is that MTB Alan up there? Yeah, I think that's MTB Alan. And then this guy next to me is like, hey, you're MTB Allen. And I'm just like, this is bad timing.
Yeah.
Now I got to do it.
And another guy over here is like, hey, man, like, actually, I'd met another guy before who was like, you're MTB Allen. And then he ended up going up there as well. And he's like, hey, man, give me your phone. I'll film you.
Oh, no.
And I was like, well,
now I'm committed.
yeah, now I got to do this. And yeah, that was cool.
Gnarly. So how far into it were you was it all the way at the bottom before you realized that you were pulling it off, or once you were into it, was it like, okay, this isn't so bad? Or
it's like so many of those features where it's when you're past the point of no return, where you can see it. You're like, oh, okay. And at that point, I was like, oh, we're good.
Nice.
Yeah. It's just visually so weird. And there's also like big cracks and stuff in the rock, and you're trying not to like let that freak you out, or I was trying not to let that freak me out, but
Trust the bike and it goes.
Yeah, your wheel is really big.
Right.
It's not going to get caught in that, but you're just
29er
like,
up front.
yeah. But when you're on top of this thing and it's like, it feels like just a sheer drop in front of you, like any little thing you like kind of freak out about. So,
Heck yeah.
and there is legit danger on that thing, especially if you go a little far left. If you go a little far riders left, it like really drops away from you. And I've seen people like come in, or I've seen footage of people come in and they end up too far left. They come off of it and the ground there might be a little slanted, and they just go straight to the ground from like 12 feet up.
Oof.
Yeah. So
that'll ruin your trip.
Yeah.
Don't look left. Wait a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. How long ago was this?
I got back on the 19th of August.
Said, right. So almost been a month now.
Yeah.
When's the next trip?
As soon as possible.
You think you'll do another one before the snow?
Well, no.
Next year.
Yeah, it'll have to be next year. There's just, I don't have the resources. And anyway, the gondola on the Fitzsimmons side is shut down, so there's no lift access on the Fitzsimmons side as of September 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah. But next season should be epic with the new lift.
You think this might be an annual occurrence now?
At least. I'd like to do like a spring and a fall. It's just too good. Like it's hard. Like now that I've done those trails, it's really hard for me to imagine not going up more than once a year. But we'll see. It's
what other
cheap.
bike parks have you done?
Snow Summit, Snow Valley, bike parks. Sky Park?
So basically the stuff in Big Bear and Whistler.
Yeah.
Wow,
Sweet.
That's great.
Yeah.
Does it make you other bike parks that you start putting on your bucket list?
There's always been a bunch that are on the list.
Right.
It's just Whistler was at the top.
Right.
Yeah, as it should be, I think. Maybe. I haven't been to some of the good ones, but
I think it is. Even if there's other bike parks where you're going to get better trails or whatever, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but when you ride some of those trails, you're stepping onto the world stage. When you ride A-Line, you're riding a trail that like every famous mountain biker has ever ridden. And now you can go back and watch those videos and you know those jumps.
Right.
Same with Dirt Merchant,
that's a good point.
Yeah. And Filthy Ape or any of those trails. Like now it's funny because when I look at like Instagram posts now, I'm like, oh, like 1/5 of these is Whistler. Yeah. But I didn't know before. It was just like some trail in Canada. But I'm like, oh yeah. So that's pretty cool because it's like, oh, I know that trail. I've ridden that thing. And I think that's really cool.
100%. Yeah.
And where else are you going to get an A-Line shirt? I didn't wear it, but
That's a regret that you didn't wear your at all.
yeah. No, I had to represent.
Nice. Yeah, shout out to Giant.
Yeah.
Big ups for supporting Alan in the Path.
Yeah.
I think that might be a podcast.
I think that's a good place to stop.
You got anything else you wanted to talk about, Alan?
No.
No.
I just want to say one thing. Like I've had a number of people be like, oh my God, I don't know how you did that. I would never be able to do that. And like, I think it bears repeating what we talked about in the last podcast that I was on, where it's about incremental change. It's about consistent consistently, like every day, doing a little something, and that's kind of how I've been progressing. And
I think that's really kind of a great universal truth too.
yeah.
For anything you want to do, incremental change is better than big moves. I think lots of incremental moves is usually more powerful than one big move.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Thanks again, Alan. Thanks,
Thank
Hawk.
you.
Thanks, Jake. And thanks to all the riders and everyone who works at the Path and all of the stakeholders involved. And let's all remember to love the bike we ride.